Soul Journey of Light on social media.
This is an awakening.
Snap out of it! Thought-provoking, challenging the popular perspectives, critical of today's opinions. We go all the way in deep. What's a thought's worth if thoughts must conform to ill-conceived theories and so-called orthodox beliefs, twisted opinions of hypocrisy? How do we reach new heights? Ascend to higher realizations, activate the powers of abstract reasoning? We must break the chains that hold us down from celestial flights. Face what you think you know with what you have yet to know. For the moment, never mind how you believe things ought to be. We must revolutionize our minds for there to be a clear way to unify. For that to happen, we must have a seat at the table all over again. Just making sure the light works. Unlock the keys of scrutiny. Revive what it means to pursue knowledge. Manifest the God in we, you and me. Welcome to your wake-up call. Soul Journey of Light. Conscious Black social media. The LightDome. Sometimes I wonder if that be the voice of God within the force of the heartbeat. When it thunders in the land, through it all, the way, words, divine, must say, a message. One would do well to listen. Take heed. In the name of Allah, you've been warned. The compassionate, the merciful. I saw the approaching of a storm, people fearing for their lives, despair, regret, and the cries. It's amazing how we turn to the God only when the drama rise. Meanwhile, see the hypocrisy at an all-time high. Immoralities seen as a token of pride. Imagine looking at the world through a God's eye view, observing the hearts of men, the evil that people do. Imagine the effects on the mind of a newborn child. Looks to his father who thinks he's a woman now. How on earth can you believe you're worthy? Confused, the days of your life abused, misused. Sons of the ancients, draped away in the great abominations, in the belly of a beast nation. Lost souls for sale in a pandemonium manifestation, sin propagation. These are the days when the souls will wish to rest. These are the days when the righteous are put to test. Who among you will stand and fight the fight to stay true? Seems only a chosen few. The prophets and sages, sacred words that grace the pages, now perceived as all but lies and hated. By the token of time, man is at loss. I now see the real meaning of the blood on the cross. We crucify our own salvation. I sing a song of redemption. Am I my brother's keeper? Reality seen through the eyes of a dream. dreamer. It's a wonder how the heavens aren't yet rent asunder. Forgive me, Lord, I didn't know. Just an amateur, false gods, graven images, all the damages. I remain thirsty for divine mercy, a soul journey in a world of vanity and drapery. I see a light in the addict. Those who've had enough break away from the madness. Notwithstanding all the doom and gloom and sadness, never despair in the end. Blessed be the righteous, keep the light lit. Our victory, focus on the highest. All praises to the greatest, to the wisest. Taught by the pen, the way. Freedom from our crisis, truly divine bliss.
Yes, indeed, family. We are back again live. Just doing a quick mic check. 1 2 1 2 mic check. There we go. Should be able to hear me with no problems. Okay, good. This is your brother Abdul Wadud, aka Quest Man, coming at you live. Soul Journey of Life, Conscious Black Social Media. Just making sure the light works. Be sure when you come in to like, share, and subscribe. And I greet you all. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom, peace and blessings be with you. Hotep, paz sobre vosotros, and so on. Welcome. Please do come in. As you know, we have plans to continue the reading that we've been going through with the book titled The 0% Secrets of the United States. We want to continue going through that and reviewing it, talking about it. In addition to that, I am going to put in the chat a link so that if you have some thoughts about what we are reading, the subject matter itself, the link is in the chat and it should be pinned to the top. All right. So you're welcome to come in when that time is right. However, I do want to mind you that this is Soul Journey of Life, which means to say that we are a conscious social media platform. That means we have a certain, way to, handle our conversations. I like to put it like, well, think about what you would like your own children to hear. And I know that sometimes that's hard for some of us because, people are so used to, certain types of behavior. But that is what it is. We have to strive for the best. That's all. Trying to think. I do have a few things on the mind here. See if I can share some things. So, fixing the screen here. Give me a second so you can see this properly. That ought to do it. Okay. Let's check this out. Just a few things that I was seeing as I was going across the IG, and I feel it kind of ties into what we're about to get into when it comes to the reading today. So I'm gonna just refresh the screen here so it can start from the beginning. Actually, you know what? What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to share it through this streaming platform right here. But what you will be seeing here, or when I share it properly, what you'll be seeing is just a little bit of commentation on the terms used to identify the establishment. You understand? the establishment, the powers that be, and certain terms that we become kind of familiar with or kind of accepted to as truth. But when you do your homework, you realize that some things aren't as you thought it was. Some things aren't what you perceive them to be, um, including the very identity of this establishment. Not to mention the people who are in authority over it. Um, but before we get into that, you know what? We'll do something here. Before we get into that, we bring that back over here. Okay. Um, try to get in the habit of greeting when you come in, so I know who's in here. Salam alaikum. Let's see what family's in here, if you don't mind. Because it lets me know, who's watching the brother. I know that, sometimes those numbers could be somebody else, but it is what it is. It's good to know the family. Um, yeah, I guess I could do this. I'm just looking at some of the clips that I had set aside for showing. Let me share this one right here with you. Yeah. I'm thinking you should be able to hear it, but if not, let me do something here, because sometimes when I play certain clips, the sound goes through and then sometimes it doesn't. So I just want to make sure. So I can do like this, right? And like that. Okay. And I am a bit hot today, family. A little bit exhausted, if I might say. I tend to stay busy. All right. Let me play this clip. And before I do, I'm just going to go ahead and put this in your face right here. Boom. Little disclaimer about any clips that I present to you. If they are not originating from your brother, Questman, understand that this is the disclaimer. The footage or sound bites are intended for fair use, as you see described in the information right there that you can read. So take note, and hopefully that'll at least give us some coverage on that note, on that level. Anyway, let's get back here. Peace and blessings to those in here. So I wanted to share this with you. I just want to make sure you can hear it. I'm gonna turn off this fan because I think it'll drown out some of the sound. I'm gonna turn it back on here shortly because it gets hot. It gets hot. So let's see if I can do this. Refresh. All right. Switch to a different page, right? So I wanted to put those clips in your face for the moment and kind of set the mood because I'm one of those that believe we have to start taking things a little serious. You understand? I know, uh we get comfortable. We get a little bit comfortable sometimes, and um almost, it's like we forget what we're going through. You understand? We forget the reality of it and what that means and why we need to kind of be on point with our lives, with how we deal with one another, with how we deal with what we, exist in, um, strengthening family ties, strengthening friendships, strengthening alliances. All of these things are more important now than ever before. So that's why I wanted to share those little clips. Shout out to uh, um, Brother Riza Islam, and for that, and of course, right there is the late honored Malcolm X. So before we get into the book reading and review, I want to identify uh, some of the sources or elements that are tied to why we're reading this book. And I'm just kind of removing some things off of the screen for now, so that way you understand why why we are into this book, this particular book, initially. You understand? Soul Journey of Life, in and of itself, is about the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of increasing intelligence, increasing understanding, or whatnot, in principle. So when we get invited, recommended, or even instructed to dig in on a certain book, that's kind of like our thing. That's what floats our boat over in this part. Um, it's obviously not something that might be considered as entertaining to all audiences, but I think that a select few might find this type of content beneficial in some ways. Shalom, their sister. Now, so I could share it like this, right? I'm doing something here because yesterday I had a bit of sound trouble, so I'm trying to make sure I avoid those deeds that uh, that caused the problems in the first place. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do this. All right. I can take this out here. So I'm just kind of being a little careful with some of these windows because that was part of what caused what caused the problem I had with the sound. Called myself trying to do something new because I was trying to put everything where the sound was coming from one way, and that just doesn't work on this type of system. A computer can only take so much pressure. So let me go here because I want to talk about this, and I'm just typing in. I'm doing what you guys could do yourself. You could type into the browser or in your Google search. You can type in the Grand. It's pretty easy to do. The Grandmaster Jay Legal Defense Fund is what you could type in there. Real easy to do, and it'll take you to a page. Let me put this down here. Yeah, we can do that. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. Can I share it? Come on. Yeah, let's do it like that. Okay, I can share it. Make that transition. Nope. Hopefully you can see that on your screen without too much. I was trying to make it sure it was big enough so you could all see the numbers and the words. Um, this is the Grandmaster Jay Legal Defense Fund, and it's tied into why we're reading the particular book title that you see in the description. The brother that you see behind me in the image is currently locked up. He was convicted of some crimes which, you know, if you understood everything, you know, in the way that people down on the ground level understood it, you would know that the brother was wrongfully convicted. So we, you know, some amongst us in the community would like to see ourselves as supporters of not only what the brother stood for, but in principle, the fact that he should be free. You understand? Um, and so this GoFundMe is an effort, you know, that can get that's intended to get the community involved to show support, so that way we can make sure that his legal defense team can get their job done properly. So I encourage you to dig in and continue showing your support. As you see on the list of supporters so far, it's like 4.7 thousand donations thus far. We got quite a bit to do. And it's astonishing when you think about, you know, how hard it is to support a righteous cause. Yet at the same time, when you look at the other side of the playing field, when the people who were doing the dirt anyway, the people who were on the shenanigans, killing and murdering, their community raises up millions of dollars within weeks. But I understand that our scenario is not like their scenario. You know, our struggle is a real struggle on all fronts. It is hard on all fronts, no matter how you look at this, at the scene. Even so, we still got to do the job, and we still got to keep on remaining strong in our community and for our own people, because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. So that right there, the Grandmaster Jay Legal Defense Fund, I believe that I have the actual link in the description, and I'll look here shortly. If I don't, let me see. I think I have the link in the description there. Yep, there it is right there. So there's the link in the description for that, and go ahead and check it out. So I'm going to put this back here. And yeah, I've been trying to figure out different ways to present my presentations. You know, me being myself, you know, some people you see, they have all kinds of external support and resources and all that, but me, I just work with what I have. I mean, I suppose it gets the job done. It's sometimes it could be a little tedious, but you know, I get used to that. And because you got to make sure you pay attention to like what windows you keep open, what windows you close, and you know, so that way everything's kind of fluid. Yes, indeed, family. Remember that fan I was telling you about? I've got to plug it back in because it's warm sometimes. And I got a little fan over here, and a little fan over there. But Let me tell you something about this fan. I want to see how long this lasts. Hold on. Because I've been doing this today. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. You know, I'm a gadget type person, right? And I ain't really trying to promote this label per se, but I like the product, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. There we go. And I like to really invest in more of these. This is like a self-powered. This is what do you want to call it? Backup battery type thing. You understand? You can connect it to like solar panels and stuff, and it'll charge up throughout the day, especially on a nice sunny day. And then when the sun's down and you disconnect the solar panels, you got charged for like a nice lump sum of hours. And it's really good if you have several of these. You understand? Because you could end up with the whole day with a lot of power. And this is enough to really, I think if I plug the refrigerator, I might get maybe 4 or 5 hours out of it. This is a fan I've got plugged into it. So I was kind of curious because fans like refrigerators, they've got a motor. It's the motor that's the main thing going on. So I'm curious, and this isn't even fully charged. Me plugging it in. It's at 39% right now. I'm curious. We'll see. Sometimes it does better. We'll see what it does today. But I encourage you to get a hold of something like that for your household, of several of those. And you'll be glad that you did. And there might come a time where that becomes the only way you get some electricity anymore. Some solar panels, some turbines, some small turbines. Just, thinking outside the box, in these matters. You'd be surprised at the way you can harvest electricity out off grid, so to speak. Let's see here. So I mentioned that to you. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe this live, and also show your support to the platform. The CashApp is TheLightDome. Whatever you can is appreciated. The journey is a real struggle, so it is definitely appreciated. And Asante Sana in advance. Now, we're going to take a moment of a break. And when we come back, we're going to get into our reading. All right. So with that said, I'll be back.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Harvey.
And my name is Eleanor Harvey.
Of J. Harvey Realty Company. We are located at 15704 Waterloo Road in Cleveland, Ohio, in the Waterloo District. We have been in business for 32 years. There is nothing no greater than helping people secure the American dream, a home. We have also helped many investors buy income properties. We specialize in helping people get prepared to purchase homes by getting them pre-approved. When they start looking, they will be able to purchase their home. So if you're thinking of buying or selling, think J. Harvey Realty Company.
Shout out to the NFAC, UBKN. You see the bigger picture, go figure. A strong black community just tastes bitter to the likes of little tykes blinded by the great white hype whenever we stand up to fight.
Wait, hold up. I got a question.
What's a life worth living when the world you're living is made up of so many who can't see the difference? Standing up for your own versus the hatred and bigotry in a land that claims to be for you and me. From sea to shining sea, the place is laced with the effects of the systemic races. So when a black man stands up, instead he's told to put your hands up, then he gets choked up and broke up. There's no love unless you be from among the docile, quick to throw in the towel, ducking and dodging to avoid fitting the profile. So I salute every black man and woman who understands the codes upon which we must stand. That reminds me, and I can never forget all those who stood up, sacrificing the comforts of life just to defend your right to respect it. Yet, where's everybody when it's time to really pull up and show up? Why can't we see that without true unity, there's no luck? Hold up, they locking the booth legally, suit up and strap up. We gotta speak up and quit sleeping on the moves we need to take up. Wake up before you're next on the list to get hemmed up for real, bro. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson, aka Grandmaster Jay. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson, Grandmaster Jay. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson, aka Grandmaster Jay. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson, aka Grandmaster Jay.
This is a shout out to the general, a hell of an individual, and this is really pitiful. Hey, put your ear to the stereo. I know this may be liberal, I'm hoping you listen close. And he stood up for the beat, so I hope you don't turn cold. This ain't no clout chasing about racing. Oh yes, it's about racing. Y'all say we bout making a couple outbreaks. Y'all say y'all better make sure he make it out. Saying it's about Jay. We don't mind breaking down every barricade. The state to the federal. We see a bunch of cannabis, a system full of animals. We thinking they can handle it. They got the right one. Think we fighting just one, cause the righteous do come. I got a light with two guns, they too dumb. Screw tight, but I'm about to loose one. See, we don't do front, no, we gotta do something. We coming with a new front, NFC choked up. It's a brand new revolution. We got a solution.
Love is unconditional. It's not something that comes with a guarantee. Unconditional love means that I don't expect perfection. Unconditional love means that I love you because you exist.
United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson, aka Grandmaster Jay. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson, Grandmaster Jay. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson, aka Grandmaster Jay. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson, aka Grandmaster Jay.
You all said that you wanted this love affair, and I told you I would never forsake you or leave you. And I said that even if you turn your back on me, I would still love you. Because of that, I was always told that when you're doing things that please the enemy, you won't have a problem in the world. But when you're doing those things that please the Most High, then you can expect that your address will be the only address that the enemy has.
Okay, so looks like we're back. As you can see, we've got our book open on chapter 3, which is page 98. And by the way, if you wonder how I got my copy, I went through Amazon.com, and it's there. There might be some other outlets. If you find a black-owned outlet, I would encourage you to buy it there instead, and regardless of what the price is. You understand? We need to get in the habit of just accepting that our value is different than their value, and our worth is different than their worth. So sometimes, you know, for a better quality or for a better experience, for a better cause, it costs a little bit more. You understand? Sometimes. That's not to say that we should get out there and just make sure our prices are sky high. We should look out for one another all the same. But if you find a copy of this book in a black-owned outlet or store or whatnot, online store, I would recommend you get it from there. Otherwise, if you don't, might as well, you know, shoot shot with Amazon.com. That's where this one came from. And so we're in chapter 3. I don't know how much you guys have been reading, but it's been getting pretty intense, you know, with the coverage. You understand? Both dealing with terminology, origins of power sources, and so on. Identity, what I like to call the sources of our own identity crisis. It's all been talked about. Let's see here. So, chapter 3 is titled "Existence of Life." Existence of life. That all by itself is a weighty expression that you see right above some symbolism. What do you call it? I'm trying to think of what they call that. Coat of arms. That's the term I was using. You see the coat of arms loaded with a variety of symbols right there. And we're going into a chapter. I believe I've said something about this at some time in a live. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it was in a conversation with somebody. Can't remember, but I was talking about the difference in the use of capitalization in the English language versus, capital and lowercase letters in a word. Like, for example, when you see Questman, you see a capital Q, then lowercase UESTMAN. All right? That's not the same in the English language, believe it or not, as capital Q, capital UESTMAN. All capital letters. That's a different purpose or value, especially when it comes to legal language and things of that nature, and something that bears authenticity versus something that doesn't, and so on. There's many elements that have been talked about, and I see that this chapter starts off with that in mind. It goes in the origin of the all capital letter fiction, the ens legis, that the United States created began in London in 1666. And the ens legis is the same name as the natural physical person. It has a dual nature, or two sides of the same coin, very similar to the two sides of a standard checking account. A debit and a credit side of the ledger. The all capital letter John Doe Smith is the legal fiction corporation debtor, and the all capital letter Smith John Doe is the natural physical person. It is the natural physical person, the creditor, referring to regarding the natural physical person. So it's saying there that the Smith, John Doe is referring to the person himself, and the John Doe Smith is referring to the corporation. In today's commercial system, the debtor side is utilized for every commercial transaction in public. Ens legis begin during the Black Plague and Great Fires of London. Parliament enacted an act behind closed doors, unknown to the people, called the, Testuque Vie Act 1666. The year is by no accident being reminiscent of the book of Revelations, chapter 13, verse 16, 18. And I know you guys noticed that, especially if you deal with any numerology, you're going to know that that's relevant, that year being used. And pardon me if my voice sounds a little bit exhausted. I am a bit worn, work and things like that. But this is also a job that, in a way I've signed up for, so I've clocked in to do it. Let's see here. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let he that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. 666 are the code numbers the ruling governments will ultimately use to identify their citizens for total control. The act being debated was to subrogate men and women's rights, meaning all men and women were declared dead, lost at sea, from the law of admiralty law. the state London took custody of everyone and their property into a trust. The state became the trustee, husband holding all titles to the people and property until a living man returns to reclaim those titles. He can also claim damages. The all-capital letter, legal fictitious name is owned by foreign governments on the same footing with the likes of owning a share in the stock market to own a percentage, but it is still a share of the stock. His Latin name, Indus legis, meaning a creature of the law, an artificial being, as contrasted with a natural person, applied to corporations considered as deriving their existence entirely from the law. One of the things that I would encourage you to look into is think about like when you get into like copyrights and patents and stuff like that, and the way things are worded when it comes to identifying business ownership and things of that nature. And then consider how possible it could be for a person to be owned simply on the basis of how their name is associated or identified. Capitalization, for example. Imagine your name being patented somewhere in the world, your full name being patented, meaning someone is your owner. Someone owns you because they have the rights to that name. Just saying something to think about. See, many of us think of slavery or enslavement as simply the chains and the shackles and the little ball and chain type thing like you see in the movies. We tend not to think about enslavement in terms of a corporation owning rights to your name and all that name governs, all that name is associated with. So every time your name comes up, the owners might have some type of relevance to that name. And just when you thought you were your own owner, which naturally, divinely you are, but we're talking about some serious devilry in this situation. As of today, in the year 2021, according in this book, all ins legis public debt is calculated at a staggering $22 trillion, to which 12 countries own a share of the stock in the United States corporation. Number one is China at 1.11 trillion, holding 13.3%. Second is Japan at 1.6 trillion, holding 16.5%. Part of my neighbors, they like fireworks at night. This is Northeast Ohio, folks. Get used to it. Holding 6.5%. I'm just saying that because sometimes you gotta pause for a minute to distinguish that the fireworks, I don't know if you can hear that or not, versus actual gunfire, because both of those are common around these parts. Anyway, continuing. Number one is China at 1.11 trillion, holding 17.3%. Second is Japan at 1.06 trillion, holding at 16.5%. Third is Brazil, at 307 billion, holding 4.8%. I bet you many of you guys didn't know just how wealthy, or established Brazil is. In fact, when you think of the BRICS union or whatnot, or alliance, that's the first part of the acronym. The first name is of Brazil. And, I was just thinking about, in my teenage years, how little I would hear about Brazil as being like a major player. And truth is they are. Holding 4.8%. That's Brazil. Fourth is the United Kingdom at 301 billion at 4.7%. The fifth is Ireland at 270 billion, holding 4.2%. Wow, I'm going to read these because this is important to recognize. 6 is Switzerland at 227 billion, holding 3.5%. These are stockholders, people, stockholders that have ownership of, let me just say it this way, have ownership of U.S. capital. I see where this is going, and I didn't even go through this chapter like that. These are owners of U.S. capital. U.S. capital, as you type your name in all capital letters, thinking that this is just a convenience or a difference of writing capitalized letters versus writing lowercase, and you think that it's just nothing. And the minute you step into a courtroom and you see your name on a paper in capital letters, and then you sign to that extent, binding yourself to being associated with those capital letters, even though that's not the correct spelling of your name. That's not how your name is spelled. Again, Questman is Q, capital Q, lowercase UESTMAN. That's Questman. It's not capital Q, capital U, ESTMAN, all capital letters. That's a different name. That's a different name. Something heavy to think about when you were looking at the list of these names. Look at this list. Luxembourg, Cayman Islands, Hong Kong, Belgium, Saudi Arabia, Morocco. Their stock shares are truthfully in the Sultan's hands, headquartered in the finance capital of the world, New York City, New York. London is an independent city-state controlling the world's banking system. The Vatican is an independent city-state controlling the world's religious structure and corporate souls. If you pay attention to the news lately, you'll see this going on in China right now, where I believe a new bishop has been installed. Imagine that. Imagine you are a communist society, but still the Pope's got his hand all up in your mix to represent all the population that they control there that call themselves Catholics. So they made sure that they found their way in to your system. The world banking system is this is the conflict that you see going on right now as we speak. A opposing body trying to establish a alternative currency system. This is no small thing. I know you pull out your wallet and you look at your dollars like you think nothing of it as you buy your burgers and shoes. But you need to understand that there's more to all of this than meets the eye with every dollar that you spend and every dollar that you earn. I mean, they're telling you these are the seats of all these different factions. Look at the next one. After the Vatican is an independent city-state controlling the world's religious structure and corporation or corporate sales. Washington, D.C. is also an independent city-state controlling the Earth militarily. And the Crown is an unincorporated association to be private. That might be, I mean, man, to many of us, that might be mind-blowing if you think about what's being said right here. The Temple Bar is in London, and every lawyer called to the bar swears an allegiance to the Temple Bar. By becoming the executor of the fictitious name and collapsing the CESQV trust, one can reclaim their property and compensation for damages, including you if you happen to be someone's property and you're damaged. And think about the level of damage you could be. Imagine you're mentally damaged. Imagine you're mentally damaged as in not conforming to your owner and starting to rebel and seeking autonomy, severance from the one who has established themselves as your owners. Then what do you become after that? You become a rebel. And now they gotta look for you. They gotta decide just how valuable you are to them. How valuable is this person? Should they live, or are they too far broken? You understand? Are they too broken? Or are they someone that if we put them in the right environment, we could break them in our favor? That right environment being incarceration. It could be any number of types of things that cause you to be cut off from your perceived ideals of freedom. One can reclaim their property and compensation for damages. It takes a trust to collapse another trust in a court of equity or chancery. Until this process is complete within the court, citizens will always need representation when involved in legal matters because the fictitious name is pronounced dead and lost at sea. Something to really investigate, family, when you're hearing the choice of words being said here. Legal fictions are a construct on paper and is in a state in trust. When a legal person receives a summons from a court, it always addresses to the fictitious person in all capital letters since as first, middle, last, or last, first, middle, similar to tombstones in graveyards. Capital letters signify death. But chew on that just for a minute. Chew on that just for a minute. It's saying that it says capital letters. It doesn't say all, but capital letters signifying death. A fictitious legal person is created when someone informed the government that a new vessel has arrived upon birth. I've talked about this some time ago. Birth certificates, listen to the choice of words. Certificates are documents that contain value. They represent value. They're valuable. It's like a dollar is, or your monetary currency. These are notes, which in a way are kind of certificates of value. Debt notes of value. You ever notice how birth certificates are initially printed? Much similar to the way dollars are printed. Much similar to the way bonds. I don't know if you've ever seen bonds before, but similar to the way bonds are printed in stock certificates and whatnot. It's all why are they all printed in a similar way, almost on similar paper format, similar borderings, with similar emphasis on uniqueness in each document from document to document. This is a handle of care situation for them. Birth certificates are issued to the government by the dock, just as ships are given birth certificates at the dock. It's all about commerce. Listen to that. It's all about commerce. You are a big business product. Imagine the United States simply being a giant Walmart. And folks that come over here like, oh yeah, we want Beyonce. That's how much for this product right here, this Beyonce product. Oh, we're gonna need a lot of notes for that one right there. All right, go ahead. We want to see her in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or someplace like that. Signed right here on this contract, this agreement between you and me that she is obligated to go to Abu Dhabi in accordance with the contract. She's already signed herself up to it anyway when she agreed with us. So now you're agreeing to our term for our product that's for sale or that's for lease. I'm just saying, family, it's some heavy stuff to think about until your dome. It's all about commerce. Newborns are delivered through their mother's water, a birth canal, just like a ship. Note the term mother ship. The ship is moved by the current, guided by the riverbanks. And the currency moves the lives of all persons through the banks. Parents register the birth of their babies, unknowingly entering them into the matrix of admiralty law. In 1837, the births, deaths, and the marriage certificate and the Marriage Act were formed in the United Kingdom or the UK. And by the way, even abbreviations have a significant role versus spelling out a name in full. And the post of Registrar General was established. His job was to collect all the data from the churches which held the records of birth. Regis, meaning from the queen or crown. All people are seen to be in the custody of the crown. This allows people to function in commerce and to accept the benefits provided by the state. That's why whenever you want to do anything, you've got to have certain licenses. You have to have certain, documents signed. You can't even get into a car without there being agreements signed, documentation signed, certificates, titles. Regis, meaning from the queen or crown. All people are seen to be in the custody of the crown. This allows people to function in commerce and to accept the benefits provided by the state. A CS2KV trust, known later as the Fide Commissionary Trust, and also referred to as secret trust, is a fictional concept, being a temporary testamentary trust, first established during the reign of Henry VII of England through the CS2KV Act of 1540, and updated by Charles II through the CS2KV Act of 1666, wherein an estate may be affected for the benefit of one or more persons presumed lost or abandoned at sea, and therefore presumed dead after 7 years. Additional presumptions by which such a trust was added in later statutes to include bankrupts, minors, incompetents, mortgages, and private companies. The original purpose of function of the CS2KV trust were to form a temporary estate for the benefit of another because some event, state of affairs, or condition prevented them from claiming their status as living, competent, and present before a competent authority. Therefore, any claims, history, statutes, or arguments that deviate in terms of a CS2KV trust origin and function, as pronounced by these canons, is false and automatically null and void. A CS2KV trust may only exist for 70 years, being the traditional accepted life expectancy of the estate. Is as simple as this: a successful Africa equals a defeated West. And so the reason you will see that any effort for Africa to be successful that the West would do whatever it can to hinder it, to stop it. But understand the power that the East and the West has invested in their system of Catholicism, both the Eastern version and the Western version. You understand? They're opponents of one another, but they're of, in a way, the same infrastructure. It's like two sides. It's like two sides of one house. And right now, the Eastern side is vying for power and using the weaknesses, the current modern day weaknesses of the Western side to their advantage. And if you notice something here, if you ever study Western Catholicism versus Eastern Catholicism, one of the things you'll notice about the Eastern Orthodoxy is they're more symbolic in their mannerisms with their icons and whatnot. They're bombarded with icons, and they love to show them in their communication, their public communication. They love to have certain things visible, such as the Black Madonna and things like that. But when you see this happening, you can know for sure that the equilibrium is changing, much like the shift between being right-brained versus left-brained. You could almost say that the Eastern Orthodoxy is more like a right-brained individual in a way. If you understand the difference between the Western Orthodox versus the Eastern Orthodox church. In 1534, before the first CS2 KV Act, 1540, Henry VII declared the first CS2 KV type estate with an act of supremacy, which formed the Crown Estate. I'm just wanting you to think about just how complex all of this is and how organized people have to be to not only implement it, but to establish it. And for all involved to be on the same page. Just think about how precise you have to be, how intelligent your organized body has to be to demonstrate such an authority. Just reviewing the notes, the commentary in the chat. Yeah. So now 70 years later, in 1604, James I of England modified the estate as the Union of Crowns. The crown was viewed as a company by the 18th century. However, at the beginning of the 19th century, the company filed bankruptcy in 1814. It became a private crown corporation controlled by wealthy European banker families who obtained their wealth through intermarrying with the high status Moors. Since 1581, there has been a second series of CS2 KV estates concerning the property of persons and rights which migrated to the United States for administration, including in 1651, the Act of the Settlement of Ireland, 1651 to 52, introduced the concept of settlements. Enemies of the state and restrictions of movement in states of emergency. The number 2 is in 1861, the Emergency Powers Act, 1861, and in 1931, the Emergency Relief and Construction Act, 1931 to 32, and in 2001, the Patriot Act, 2001. Interesting. Since 1591, there has been a third series of CS2KV estates concerning the property of soul. Imagine that. Imagine your soul being someone's property. And ecclesiastical rights which migrated to the United States for administration, including in 1661, the Act of Settlement, 1661 to 62, and in 1871, the District of Columbia Act, 1871, and in 1941, the Lend-Lease Act, 1951. All birth certificates, and stock certificates are indeed certificates of title for the entitled, right? All include stock on banknote numbers referring to a bond pending a matured date. Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition, defines certificate of titles as this document certifies ownership of real property or a vehicle. Let me say that part again. All include stock on banknote numbers referring to a bond pending a matured date. Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition, defines certificate of title as this document certifies ownership of real property or a vehicle. An authorized agency will capture a description of the property and the liens on it on the issued certificate. A certificate of title is vastly different from the word entitled, meaning, interesting, to give a right or title to one who has a right to property in ordination as a minister in ecclesiastical law. Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition. A lien. Hold on a second here. A lien is always displayed on a certificate of title and never to one who possesses entitlement to a title. This is why U.S. citizens continue to pay property taxes on houses and vehicles regardless of a settled mortgage or vehicle sales contract. Until the property effects is registered in trust with the local ruling government, taxes are due annually. As long as a certificate of title for an automobile exists in the all capital letter fictitious name, then the DMV remains the true lien holder. The same applies to a real property having a satisfaction of mortgage with a grant deed not recorded in a trust, which has a settler, trustee, or beneficiary. Until the house is registered in an express trust, property taxes are due annually. The beginning process of reaching the 0% tax bracket comes only by claiming one's title to remove them from being lost at sea in the law of admiralty. One must proceed with the authenticating process of the birth certificate backed by the CS2KV trust estate assets. The following steps will include a guide to claiming the estate successfully. It begins by realizing that the birth certificate is on par with a certificate of title to an automobile. That means your birth certificate makes you much like a car for sale or a house for sale or a grant deed or a deed of trust to real property. The purpose of authentication is given in Title 28, Judiciary and Judicial Procedure, Chapter 115, Evidence Documentary. B. Properly authenticated copies of transcripts of any book record that will include your GED, your high school diploma, your all of that. Papers or documents of any department or agency of the United States shall be admitted in evidence equally with the originals thereof. Authentication of the birth certificates first begins with obtaining a certified copy of the document from the county. If issued by the public health department and not the province of birth, one must first authenticate the record, obtaining a certificate of exemplification. Once received, the birth certificate with the exemplification must be mailed to the birth state Secretary of State office, requesting that the record becomes authenticated for international travel to a non-Hague Convention country such as Thailand or Taiwan. A list of non-Hague countries is available through an internet search, and each Secretary of State office provides this service with a fee ranging from $10 to $25. The Secretary of State may take up to 30 days to process, depending on the state. An apostille or certificate of authentication will come back attached to the birth certificate. The next step is to finalize the authentication by sending the returned birth certificate to the Department of State with their DS 4194 request for authentication's service form. The applicant should provide their name and mailing address in Section 1, leaving Section 2 blank, and select a self-addressed stamped envelope for the delivery method in Section 3. Provide the non-Hague country in Section 4, the number of documents, which is 1, and the document type, which is the birth certificate. And finally, Section 5 must include the estimated cost, which is $8. Below is the Office of Authentication's mailing address. You see it right there. Take a look at that for a minute. I will be right back. I need to get a hot cup of coffee. In the meantime, do me a small favor and hold it down.
My bad. I thought the shop was closed. I was just like, hey, this is my work. What's this right here? Hold on. Hey, got an idea. Check this out. What are you waiting for? Let go. Fees and flows for them with their head still attached to their shoulders. I make amends for what I failed to see until I got a little older. Versatility is a necessity in today's business. Take that as a proverb. You may think it's awkward, but it's really just what I observe. Never mind whatever you heard. I'm quest man, so much flow in sync with the flight of a carnivorous bird. I get high off the knowledge of how to spin around my myrrh. Kaaba, Allahu Akbar, blessed when I honor my mama and papa. Disrespect them and it's you I clobber. Aha! Just when you thought all those rainy days would keep me waited, I rise up off the ground like one snapped out of being medically sedated. I salute the melanated, the froze, the locks, and the braided. Naturally, I make it a habit of keep on loving me, so I'm never bothered by the hatred. You see the frames, but I'm that nerd that's naughty by nature. Ice water vapor, flight of the navigator. Put that on paper, sign right there. I tickle the feminine in the wind, tasting candy coated raindrops enough to make your head spin. Brother, this is not a ring you really want to get in. Really? I'm a wordsmith, making nerves twitch. After you heard this, you might just want to roll another. Hold up, as I spit for the righteous, yeah, you might need to pass that as we battle the current crisis. I see red and blue lights in the streets. I bow my head because the fallen carry the same blood my heart beats. Hold it down, UNIFY. Hold it down. Hold it down, UNIFY. Hold it down.
Spin that pluralistic, high quality gold subtone submission. My flow is sadistic. Call me the wordsmith. Keys to the untold stories that bring your passion into glories. Educating the sun, moon, and youth. The universal which introduces logic, ignites ideologies. Flying on philosophies, carrying the baby of a dying breed. Correlating ancestors to restore the community. Praying on a cloud, kneeling on my knees, soaring on cosmic energies. To reverse the mindset of the ignorant, building abundance and breaking down generational curses. As I smirk, giving you positive hurt. Rebuking the vapor that we breathe in and calibrates our mental to damage, disfigure, disturb that thought process, sorting out the weak. Seeking to kill, still and destroy. The blessings made on a stone of exhilarating, cake that celebrates the victory set out for the world. Exhilarate prosperity.
Hold it down. UNIFY. Hold it down. Hold it down. UNIFY.
Gathering my collectiveness. Nico B.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Give me 1 second because I like her dark and sweet. So that means I need to utilize some of this cane turbino sugar. Just a little bit. Dark and sweet. Dark, lovely, and sweet. That's how I like her. All right. I'm talking about the coffee, right? Okay. Okay. Shall we continue? Yes. Yep. Talking about the coffee. So let's check it out. We're at the top of page 107. We're continuing. Let me take a look at the commentary. And by the way, I do have a link in the chat for your convenience to join in on this commentary as we're reading. If you have some thoughts to share, to break bread with a brother, and you're not too camera shy, go ahead and click that link that's pinned to the top and come on in and let's talk about this. What are we reading? And just be mindful that this is Conscious Black Social Media, Soul Journey of Life. Continuing. Be sure, and by the way, like, share, and subscribe. I meant to say that. In fact, let me put this little banner down, this little ticker down at the bottom. Be sure to include a self-addressed envelope inside the mailing packet so that the Department of State can return the fully authenticated birth certificate. Once authenticated, the document is now on par with the original certificate of live birth, which the county will never give to the rightful owner. It is now security that has been annexed. That has been annexed from the United States, pending a claim of ownership. The final step is to attach the affidavit of ownership to the authenticated record according to the Minnesota court rules. The registrar of titles is authorized to receive for the registration of memorials upon any outstanding certificate of title an official birth certificate pertaining to a registered owner named in said certificate of title showing the date of birth of said registered owner, providing there is attached to said birth certificate an affidavit or an affiant who states that she is familiar with the facts recited, stating that the party named in said birth certificate is the same party as one of the owners named in said certificate of title, and that thereafter the registrar of titles shall treat said registered owner as having attained the age of majority at a date 18 years after the date of birth shown by said certificate. The county assessor clerk, a registrar clerk, can receive a fully authenticated birth certificate of title with an attached affidavit for the sole purpose of establishing that one is no longer a minor. Until this process occurs, the government will always see the U.S. citizen as a minor, not over 18, even if the citizen is of age. Very interesting. The lack of proof of authentication with an affidavit proves to the government, along with the U.S. Census, driver's license, voter's registration, SS5 forms, and U.S. passport applications, precisely the number of inhabitants of the age of 21 that can rightfully elect the whole number of representatives for the choice of electors in their respective states. A lot of rope to go through just to be among the elect, or the ones who can establish the elect. The one named in the certificate is the one stating the claim as the registered owner. The testimony should be titled Affidavit of Claim of Ownership of Certificate of Title, and the exact wording of Minnesota Rule 220 should be quoted in the affiant. Here is a guide to follow. Affidavit of Claim of Ownership of Certificate of Title. I, last name, first name, middle name, doing business as first name, middle name, last name, said affiant registered owner, being duly sworn, declare and state that I am of full age and legally competent, and to have firsthand knowledge of the facts stated herein, and believe these facts to be true and correct to the best of my knowledge, and that the said affiant is the same party described in the said birth certificate, real property. I have to pause for a minute because we need to understand the value of words and the value of selecting the precise words to identify what your objective is. Selecting the precise words, because one misspoken word or misused word can take the whole meaning of what you say in the sight of authority or in the presence of authority and change the whole context. It can change the whole. It can make it. It could be the difference between literally life and death. You understand? It can literally be the difference between life and death. The difference between your ability to obtain wealth or lose it. Just the choice of words, especially when you are standing in the presence of some established authority or representative of authority, because sometimes you're not even in front of an authority, you're in front of the representative. Imagine a representative being given a bit of authority to alter your life, to change the outcome of your entire family. Just something to think about. All because of an audience tactfully using key words. They're not using random words. They're using choice words to either harm you or otherwise. Choice words. So that's why, when I'm looking at this, what we were just talking about here, I'm looking at each of the words that we are reading, and I'm seeing that they're pointed choice words. They're not, and they're being specific to be direct to the point of what you are trying to do or trying to get, leaving no room for misunderstanding. Imagine you had to talk like this to someone you were dating or meeting or something, and you had to use choice words so there was no confusion at all in what you were trying to achieve with the other person. In a way, that's what marriage is. You may not realize it, but because many of us have become real loose with holding our values in honesty, so that when we make an oath towards another person, it doesn't really take too much for a person to break that oath and then think nothing more of it. The value of that certificate has been lost. It's still there. And you may be, many of us may be surprised to find that at another manifestation of life that we're still held to account and tied to vows that we already made, that we broke while the vows were still ongoing and still recognized by a higher court. There is a hierarchy in all this after all. So it makes sense for us to take care how we communicate to one another. This in so many ways, it's your choice words that can sift the real from the fake in your life. Because people who have more regard with what they say, you understand, tend to be more credible, especially when it comes to business dealings. You understand? Hold on a second here. I want to see. Yep. Wow. How long was that? An hour, about an hour or so? I didn't have much percentage left on this thing. Anyway, point I'm trying to make is, for the authenticity amongst us, the word is bond. I'm going to say it that way. I'm using that kind of, coming from the hip hop culture, but it is ever a true statement that at the end of the day, this is all a man has to manifest. So doesn't it make sense that our choice of words be as authentic and as in line with what we are trying to project of our thoughts as possible? Because this is what we will be obligated to live according to. Think about the difference between calling someone a comrade versus a friend versus an ally versus, an associate. Choice words. The attached document is the authenticated true copy of the original document of title, of which I am the holder of the certificated title, whose name also appears on the face of the instrument as first name, middle name, last name, trust estate, by reference to the official certificate of live birth, title, warehousing, receipt, recorded and filed dated month, day, year, birth registration date, not DOB. So he's pointing out the difference between spelling that out as opposed to these abbreviations. In the Office of Clerk, Registrar, Land of birth state, as the name appears to be held for safekeeping by birth state vital records, and affiant is aware that the Registrar of Titles is authorized to receive for registration of memorials upon any outstanding certificate of title and official birth certificate pertaining to a registered owner named in said certificate of title, showing the date of birth of said registered owner, providing there is attached to said birth certificate an affidavit or an affiant who states that she is familiar with the facts recited, stating that the party named in said birth certificate is the same party as one of the owners named in said certificate of title, and that therein the registrar of title shall treat said registered owner as having attained the age of the majority at a date 18 years after the date of birth shown by said certificate, and should any constitution officer, whether executive, judicial, legislative, or deputy, dispute the above aforesaid statements of facts, let it be known that last name, first name, middle name is aware that her breath of life, date, birth month, birthday, birth year, on the nation of birth state, the territory of birth county, and not the United States District of Columbia, and not the state of birth state, Therefore, last name, first name, just say Doe, John, Allen, the creditor, doing business as first name, middle name, last name, the debtor as a 14th Amendment citizen known as an ins legis created by the Certificate of Live Birth Contract in SS5 form, which by law is unconstitutional per affiance birth states. No ex post facto law section, i.e. search the Bill of Rights or Declaration of Rights, and affiant hereby grants, conveys, and or gifts said certificate of title to the registered owner known as express trust, the secured party, further documented via a $9 billion lien substantiated by an equity secured promissory note. These are value terms here. And pledge and security agreement listed in the organic public record of non-uniform commercial code. Any rebuttal or dispute to the above aforesaid statement of facts shall provide proof that such contracts have not placed last name, first name, middle name under legal disability, lack of legal capacity or qualification such as that of a minor or mentally impaired person to enter into a binding contract per the Baby Act and per the 1877 Georgia Constitution, Article 1, Bill of Rights, Section 4, Paragraph 1. A minute, let me plug this up. And one more thing here. I'm just thinking here. Take judicial notice. A fine registered owner is aware that full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts record and judicial proceedings of every other state. And the Congress may, by general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved and the effects thereof. And a fine registered owner is aware properly authenticated copies of or transcripts of any books, records, papers, or documents of any department or agency of the United States shall be admitted in evidence equally with the originals thereof. Proof of service. I, the undersigned, say I am over the age of 18 years and I am a party of the action of proceeding. My business address is in care of 1234 Main Street City in the Republic of State of the United States of America. On today's date, I serve the foregoing documents described as affidavit of claim of ownership of certificate of title on all interested parties, including but not limited to registrar, recorder, clerk, county clerk name. In this action, by recording this day, the proper documents within the following office: full registrar, recorder, county clerk address. The documents were served by the following means specified. This may seem tedious in so many ways, but this is an infrastructure that, believe it or not, is built on these type of intricate elements that makes it operate the way it does. And I'm just reflecting on some things I had learned from some elders about stuff, about things of this nature right now. I was just thinking back. Because even when I used to listen to them back in those days, I kind of took some of this content as they were sharing it with me and breaking it down to me with a grain of salt. I kind of took it. I didn't really give much weight or value or importance to it versus the entertainment of life and the things that we tend to place as more important than the value of your very existence and the value of your legacy. Imagine you being in debt because those who came before you were in debt and all you did was inherited it. But here you broke free by establishing yourself as the owner of yourself, freeing up all those who come after you. And thus your legacy, each one born from you thereafter, are born free men and women. Choice words, yet again. Interesting. Understand the idea of being a sovereign individual residing in a sovereign land versus being a subject in a sovereign land. I'm just thinking here. By mail, I deposited such envelope in the mail at City State with first class postage thereon, fully prepaid. I am readily familiar with the business practice for the collection of processing of correspondences for mailing. Under that practice, it is deposited with the United States Postal Service on the same day at City State, the ordinary course of business. I am aware that on the motion of the party served, service is presumed invalid if postage cancellation date on postage meter date is more than 1 day after the date of deposit, the date of deposit for mailing in an affidavit. I mean, even think about that. Something as simple as sending out a missive and that missive being covered by a stamp. And think about the value that's put upon a simple stamp. Think about, and to show you how much value is put upon us upon a simple postage. It's a federal offense to violate any part of that document or that envelope or that missive while it's in transit. And even at the other end, it's a federal offense to open it if you aren't the intended recipient. Let me see if I can share something with you real quick. I may have already shared it. Share this with you just for a second. I think I showed this before, but I want to show it again. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this. I'm not sure how well that's working out, but let's see. Okay. Yes, indeed, family. Bear with me here. Okay. So, mm, mm, mm. So I'd like to invite anyone that is in the viewers. Go ahead and click that invitation. I'd like to be able to kind of build on what others are taking from what we've been reading and going over. I want to be able to kind of build on that a little bit. I mean, and don't feel like that your perspective is not respected here, as long as it's presented in a respectable way. I'm the type of brother that has ears to hear views, even if I might myself not agree with them. But I like to know our thoughts on something of this nature, and often is more pleasant and beneficial to hear other points of views other than just my own. So I did put the link in the chat, and I can it should be pinned there, but just in case it's not, there it is again for your convenience. Come up in the chat and break bread with your brother, and let's see where our mind is at concerning this chapter and the book in general from what we've been reading so far. And you can tell that from this particular chapter, there's heavy emphasis on the value of your life itself, and the terms used to describe that value, who owns that value or who owns that value, and so on. But what more can what more can be said about this? Is there anything else that we should take note to when it comes to what we've been reading? Is there any in our struggle? How does understanding this aid in our struggle? Personally, I'm one of those that believes that the major part of our conflict is a battle on the basis of intelligence, more so than physical confrontation. Because you can have the war on ground level, and if you look at the world, it's coming to stuff like that. But even when all that clears away in the world, all the violence and hostilities, the intelligence has to surface. And in other words, a true warrior can't be just a brute, but we have to have a profound insight. You don't know of any great general from amongst our people who was not also of great intelligence. You don't have a brute for a general. You have a doctor, a scientist, so to speak, all embodied in the person of a warrior. That becomes a general, a supreme commander, all of that. It's important to understand this. Where are you at? I'm seeing all these viewers, but no commentary, no response, just a number of viewers watching this live. And sometimes it makes me wonder, like, who are you really? Who's watching this live? What's going on? It makes me think of when I watched a documentary that was talking about an execution. And one of the things I noted in execution was certain key individuals that were present watching that execution as witnesses. And the individuals weren't in any way related to the person that was being executed. And they had certain symbols or codes of arms in their symbols that was on their badges. And I'm thought, like, who are these people? Because it wasn't the officer. It wasn't like friends of the family or something. It was like someone completely different in connection with seeing this. And it was almost like they had a deeper purpose of even being there, observing that this execution went down. But here we are. We've got a number of viewers here, and it is very quiet in here. Because right now, I'm thinking as quiet as it is, makes me get obnoxious. That's how it used to be back in the days when it gets quiet like this, when it gets that eerie quietness. Somebody's got to make some noise. Yeah, I'm gonna pause it right there with the reading. I would like to, that viewers could be more participating, more so that than simply being observers. Again, even if your views might challenge what we're reading. And how can we know when you don't show up? It's a hard bargain, family. Really it is. It's a hard bargain because often we don't really want to be involved in anything in an active sense. We might be like passerbyers or viewers or whatnot, on the sideline, but at the same time trying to position ourselves of keeping our hands clean, so to speak. But the thing about life is that whatever is your cup, you won't be able to evade what's for you. You're not going to be able to evade it. Run as fast as you can, but you're not going to be able to evade what's for you. So the best thing to do is to be the most authentic version of yourself. To be the most thorough, truest version of yourself. In the face of all else, even in the face of people who might perceive you otherwise. And that's always interesting to me when I show up someplace and people have one idea about me, and then I have the idea that I know about me, and I'm acting and behaving according to that. This makes me think of back in the old high school years. I'm behaving according to the person I know myself to be, but so-and-so and so-and-so think that I'm this or that, or, that I don't know how to get down, that I don't know how to, to hang out or do this, whatever. I don't know anything. I must have just moved in yesterday or something, let them tell you. Who are you? Where are you from? I'm like, man, brother, I've been here longer than you. You just moved in. You want to talk about where am I from? You're new on the scene. Anyway, it's interesting. The minute I stop talking about, the minute I pause the material that we're reading, then I see the numbers go down. It's interesting to me because, sometimes I will get these spammers or whatnot, or what do you call it, trolls. I haven't seen the trolls in a while, which is fine with me. But I'm often interested in who are the viewers, aside from the ones that I know because they announce themselves. I often see other viewers other than them. I'm like, well, who else is viewing this, and why don't they offer a bit of participation so the community can benefit of what other people are taking from readings such as this? But it is what it is. I want to give a shout out to all those in the community who are still not giving up in their struggle for justice, for equality, for self-determination, liberation. All the brothers and sisters that are fighting for reparations. All of this, because it's a hard battle. And if even reading this chapter today is to say anything, it's a very, very tactful challenge that we're up against. This is not no okie doke cakewalk type of a challenge that we're dealing with in our life. And then when you look at a number of us who have basically thrown their lives away to the vanities that you see on like TikTok and some of this other stuff, it just shows you just how much of a challenge we're up against, and why unity, real unity, is ever more important in today's time. All right, so I was hoping to share a little bit with the viewers, but it is what it is. In any given case, I am going to call this a show for this evening, and hope that what content has been presented was suitable enough for the brothers and sisters in the community to benefit from appropriately, and that we are fulfilling our task to support one another and support a common cause. Be sure, if you would, like, share, and subscribe. Okay? All of that. And other than that, I'm going to tell you, this is your brother, Abdul Adu, aka Questman. This was another live Soul Journey of Life, Conscious Black Social Media. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuhu. Shalom. Peace and blessings be with you. Have a blessed rest of your day. Take care.
Take two of these and feel it working instantly. Flows powerful enough to obliterate those who stand against me. Eventually, I benefit my seeds to grow into a greater image than I be. It's highly likely to be, so long as they understand the essence of the 1, 2, 3s and ABCs of the glory of our story. See the sun rise up in the morning. When I come, the sky begins storming. It's alarming. In fact, when the world was black, we were supreme in understanding. We gon' need that back. Solid like a rock, rock your body. Lolly-dotty. I look and I see the clear image of our folly. Divided and conquered. The way many of us are so draped, the way it's awkward. Dumb, deaf, and blind. Why bother? Mind your manners. Gather together to agree. Elevate our standards. Looking at the burning embers. Buddy, please explain to me what we're seeing in the camera. Innocent bodies of plastic. It's tragic. The gun clicks loudly when I've had it. Up to here. We need a restoration act of black unification tactics.
It's black, it's black.
I'm black and I'm proud.
It's black, it's black.
I'm black and I'm proud.
It's black, it's black.
I'm black and I'm proud.
It's black, it's black.
I'm black. I bought a pack of matches. Journey of Life, Conscious Black Social Media. The LightDome.